Welcome to A Matter of Music. I'm Dawn Wisner-Johnson.
And I'm Beth Wisner-Jansen.
And we're here to provide tools, education, and ideas to help you navigate through this crazy business of music. And this week, we are going to be talking about PROs, Performing Rights Societies. We're going to do an overview. There's so much that you can delve into with the Performing Rights Societies. And I come from the TV side, so I'm going to be coming at you from that. I'm sorry if I don't get into the radio and things, but we will in the future, and we will touch on that. So a performing
rights. I'm going to jump in and say she's saying performing rights societies, but it's really performing rights organizations. The acronym. It's a society, you call it that. ASCAP, is a society. Yes. But PMS is not. That's not something we want to call things. So we're doing PRO. That's what they're technically called. So anyway. The Performing Rights Organization.
I will say,
but BMI is a society.
I've been looking at the world, and sometimes they do call them that.
Yeah,
international world. So,
right. So interchangeable.
Acronym for it, she's right, is PRO. So, so PROs are basically there in the United States, and they are all over the world as well. But they are there to collect money from customers. So that they can take that money and transfer it on to the composers and songwriters. So
and publishers.
And publishers, yes. So performing rights societies were put into place so that they could have a place to regulate getting the composers and songwriters paid. So when a song or a composed instrumental that you have composed is played in public, this can be live performances, even in a club, a venue, it can be radio, restaurants, and anything performance related that generates a royalty. So obviously television.
I'm going to say too, when you say performance and live and recorded, like in a venue, like a coffee shop, you can have a live performance there with somebody playing guitar with a song. That's one thing. You can also have live music coming over the air. They collect for both of those.
That's right. If you are signed up with BMI, ASCAP, or SESAC, and I'm sorry if you're in the rest of the world, there's SOCAN for Canada, and there's PRS in the UK, GEMA.
Most countries only have one, right, Dawn?
Most what?
Most countries only have the one.
Yes, that would be so. Now, yes, Beth, all of the countries will have one performing rights society. Every country has one. However, in the US, we have actually 4 big ones now. And the US, ASCAP and BMI are the largest performing rights societies in the world. You'll find out later why that might be, because if you are in a smaller country, you're going to want to have your US royalties and sometimes your world royalties tracked by ASCAP or BMI. They've been around a long time. They've been doing this a long time. So some of these other smaller PROs in the other countries might not be set up to really track everything the way you're going to need your music tracked, especially if you're getting exposure through television, radio, or anything else. So does that make sense, Beth?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So yeah, when everybody knows who ASCAP and BMI are, with no matter what country you're in. So it is an important thing for all of you. And I have just recently helped a songwriter. She's from Sweden. She's always been with Sweden, and STIM is her performing rights society in Sweden. She has just now, ASCAP is the default for any PRO in another country.
Because the STIM is going to collect, so each country has their own PRO, and it's going to collect all of those royalties within their country. Anything that happens within their country, at a coffee shop, on their own television shows, if it's aired, even if it's a show that started in another country on BBC or in the States or whatever, and it aired on their country, they're going to collect for those. But they're then can collect from other countries through other PROs. Most of the time that's going to be through ASCAP and BMI.
Yes, I believe it is going to be, Beth. Now, I don't know enough about the international PROs, but I know that there are some that are better at collecting throughout the world.
Okay.
In other words, they might say to their songwriter, hey, go ahead and sign up, or in the US, it's going to be ASCAP, but we'll handle the rest of the world for you.
Okay.
So
So they're getting better at that.
yes, they are. There are some, there are also some who've been around a long time. So, but this is a whole other podcast. If you want to know about this,
Neighboring rights
don't
is
even
what it's
know.
called, right?
I don't even know if we'll do that, because I will tell you during this podcast. In fact, I should tell you right now. I just got to look through my notes.
Sorry,
So
I'm making you jump all over your notes.
I know. No, I
You
got
got
to
the
make
whole plan, and
sure
I'm just jumping in and
that I
taking
get
her
the
off her
right
game.
countries listed. Here they are.
Because what she was saying was ASCAP is going to be the default if you have if you're signed up in Sweden or Japan or whatever country, and you don't pick, you can pick BMI, SESAC, ASCAP for your US one. If you don't pick one, ASCAP will be the default. That's what she was saying when I so rudely interrupted her.
And before I go and tell you the countries that have the PROs that are generating the most income, I'll tell you that in a second. I do want to say this works the other way with US PROs, where we don't even have a default. We just have whoever our PRO is collecting throughout the world for us. And we are not going to pick, we are not going to that, say in Italy, and we're saying we're going to sign up here. Now, I'm not saying you can't. And for many years,
saying you shouldn't.
No, and many times over the years, I've seen some of our songwriters' statements, and it's like in some countries, they're getting a lot going on. One country I've seen a lot in is Australia, and also some other countries, definitely Canada, but I'm not sure how that works with Canada and US. So I'm not sure. I believe, though, as a songwriter composer, you are allowed to sign up wherever you want. The only stipulation with that is you have to let your US PRO know that you are now with this PRO in the other country. We'll get into this more later too. This creates a lot of more paperwork. Both PROs are not always happy about you doing this,
because they want to know that you're not collecting from Australia from them, and also double dipping and collecting from the Australia PRO directly.
Right.
And the paperwork needs to be done.
Yeah, if you can imagine, BMI, I don't even know, it's close to 1 million members now, and ASCAP
800,000 members.
Right, ASCAP maybe over that or around the same. If you can imagine that many members and the how you have to keep track of all of this. Now, they should be able to keep track of this, but I'm telling you that because you just need to know that ahead of time going into it, if that's going to be worth your time. Some songwriters and composers, I read every statement I get. I read whoever else's statements I can when they come in, because I like to pay attention to what's happening with the PROs. I see changes all the time. New things are coming in.
Changes, Dawn?
On those statements from the PROs, some of the changes I'm beginning to see. Just recently, we had a Facebook payment there. It was over $100 for one of our songwriters, and I had no clue what that was. I went to the PRO. Guess what? They didn't know what it was either.
I love that.
I know.
They found out, right?
I have no news for you, except that I went to the statement and saw, what? Where did this come from? So we're assuming it was probably some page on Facebook that has a deal with PROs.
Where maybe he's on a TV show.
Yes.
And that TV show is running clips or things with that music on it, featured or not.
The other things we're seeing that are changing, every quarter new things are happening. New channels, digital, audio, visual channels are coming up and paying. Some of them, the rates are going up. Hulu has been getting better and better with their payments. I wonder
why that is. I wonder, did that happen after Disney did the whole Fox thing and now owns more of Hulu?
It may have.
Because now that they own more, they might have to pay more.
Right. And
They're
if
paying themselves, it's kind of weird.
it is a weird thing. I'm going to have Beth explain that to you a little bit later, how these companies deal with the PROs and why this money is all coming in. She'll explain that.
Because it's not when you get a placement, they don't sit down and figure out, oh, we're going to pay that guy 15 cents. That's not how it works. So
there's a formula, but it is based on so many things. This is how they work. They do deals with each. So Beth will go over that a little bit. I'm going to go, I was going to tell you about the countries. The countries, since we were talking about it, that generate the most income outside of the US are England, and that would be PRS, France, which is SACEM, SACEM. I'm not sure how to say that. Canada is SOCAN. Germany is GEMA. Italy is SIAE. Japan is JASRAC. Australia, New Zealand is APRA. I mentioned them. We have seen some good royalties coming out of there for television.
Australia, New Zealand are the same? PRO?
Yes, it does say that, yeah. Spain is SGAE, and the Netherlands, BUMA. Now, when I was at ABC Television, we actually had deals with companies in Australia and the Netherlands with our library who were
using your library.
Using our library and generating it over there. So
for you guys at ABC, that was not just replays of US shows. It was also, they were using, okay.
We let them distribute our library in the country so that they were helping generate more. And this could have been why, because ABC knew that the royalties over there pay really well. So those are the ones. The other thing I wanted to say was Germany. I was at a Production Music Association convention a couple of years ago, and I was sitting next to somebody and they said, do you know those people? They're from Gamma in Germany. And it was this older couple, and apparently they have been running this PRO for years and years. And they said they know everything about royalties, and they've been doing it, and they chase down things. They're really good. So that's probably why Germany is on this list. So as you can see, each country is going to be different with how this goes. So educating yourself and understanding which ones of these might be good. And then I would suggest, if you do decide that you're generating a lot of income, radio play, whatever, there's two ways you can go. We have new companies coming up. Songtrust is one of those, and I know that one pretty well because I deal with it on a weekly basis with a songwriter that I work for. So I know that they are good at tracking royalties around the world. So they are different than your PRO. Your PRO has all your music registered there. They're doing all of this. These other companies coming up are actually going and signing you up, signing your songs up with each PRO in each country. So they are going the extra mile that the PRO does not do. And they're helping you generate more income. So they are actually doing what I just said you could do on your own.
Now, Dawn, if you go when you guys go sign up for Songtrust, for this artist that you do admin for, does Songtrust, because it's a big artist with a lot of, he's got publishing deals and things, so he's got a lot of music. Is Songtrust working with the PRO, with your PRO, the BMI, to make sure that they've got everything registered right, they're working on the right things, they're telling them when they collect something, it's kind of going back and forth?
Yes, Songtrust is actually, unless we decide to do it, they are actually talking to the PRO and registering for us.
Okay.
Even. And yes, they are in communications. And I will also say that with Songtrust, you can put whatever you want there. So say you have an album that you want to keep in the US, but you know you have other albums you've worked with other people on, and you just want to put those songs into Songtrust. Your deal is just whatever you decide to put in, and it's a 15% off the top that they'll take. Yes.
So let me just make sure that I got this worked out. So I'm an artist and I've got 10 albums. And I've got one that I'm getting some airplay on a TV show in, say, Spain. and I'm getting some airplay, you know, it's on a TV show, it's getting airplay, I'm doing really well there. I want to make sure and collect my maximum, you know, and make sure everything's being taken care of in case people are doing it and, you know, singing my song in clubs and, you know, doing covers and things in Spain, because, you know, I don't know how my PRO is going to go get that. I know how they do it in the US. They actually go to each coffee shop and, you know, make sure they have a license and everything, but I don't know how that works with Spain. So I want to go sign up for Songtrust. I can just take that one album if I want.
Yes. Now, let me say,
did I open a can of worms?
No, because I am with a big artist, we negotiated a deal. So please check that out to be sure that you as an artist can also, if you're a smaller artist, if you can
individual ones, not all of it.
Individual, yes, because you know, sometimes these companies have other deals with different people based on, and you would understand this. Say it was Lady Gaga and Songtrust wants some of her songs. They're going to allow her to say, I'm going to give you this record and go the other way. I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I do believe that we are right in assuming that you decide what you're going to put somewhere, because as a songwriter, that is your right.
Right. And if you're, I mean, unless you've got very specific issues because you've got, you know, you're really working and you've got so many different things going in so many different places, it might not even be an issue for you. You might want to just go get everything. I can't imagine that a lot of people wouldn't want them to if they're going to sign up for it.
Sure.
Because they're not taking, again, is Songtrust taking, so you got your PRO for the US, most of your income's coming from the US, TV shows, radio, you know, all of that stuff. So your PRO is collecting that. Is Songtrust collecting the US anything?
Yes.
Yes. So they are collecting, instead of the PRO, they are collecting for you and taking that 15%.
Yes.
So that's where you need to think through and do a little bit of, you know, a little bit of math.
Make sure it's worth your time.
And worth your money.
Right. And money, because
if they're not going to collect anything significant more than your PRO would, you might not want to sign up with them because they're taking 15% off the top.
Or you may want to, if you have a good representative at your say it's BMI, you have a good representative, and you and that rep talk it over. You might be able yourself to say, you know what, I'm getting some airplay in Australia. I want to go sign up there and see how this works. And which brings me to another thing I'm going to talk about, but I wasn't going to do it yet. But is your when you sign up with a PRO, you have a term that you are with the PRO. You are signing a contract to be with them. So say you go to another country, and, you know, I don't even know the terms on these other countries, but with BMI, I know that the last that I knew of, it was 2 years. And with ASCAP, Beth, I saw that it's only a year term.
A year with ASCAP unless they changed it.
And I believe BMI is 2.
And now and here's the thing, you can get out, but there's a window. So don't just think you can escape anytime you want.
Right. So if you're going to do that, you have to understand how these terms are working. Say you go to Australia, you start a term. You may even sometimes want to wait to start your term until you know that your BMI is going to end, or where you could get out of BMI.
You would want your terms all to end about the same time in case you want to make changes. You can make them all at the same time.
Let's go ahead and delve into that a little bit. Beth is going to have some nice things to say about this because we've done it before. You obviously, BMI and ASCAP are not going to keep you there. You sign a contract. That doesn't mean this is where you have to stay your entire life of being a musician. However, there are things that come into play when you do move around. And I'm dealing with this right now with another songwriter where we're trying to track who is taking care of this song that he has a portion of. And so these things can become a nightmare, and you could lose royalties if you're not completely on it, because, explain, Beth.
Are you talking about jumping from one PRO to the other, just signing up with a different PRO, or actually moving songs?
No, yeah, I'm talking about even just moving, because then we have actually moving songs, which is not.
Here's the kicker, because Dawn works for somebody, and part of her job is to make sure everybody's signed up the right place, all the right deals, all the right percentages go to the right, and you got 5 songwriters on a song. That might be a small song for this guy, small share. There's going to be 3, 4, 5 different PROs sometimes if they're in other countries.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're on top of all of that and you're making sure that when you finish a song and you walk out of a session, and this is what we always say, make sure you get your split sheets. Nobody ever wants to do it. You don't want to do it when you walk into a session. People say, because it just kills the mood, man. It's, I want to be creative. Okay, great. Do you want to get paid? Do you want to ever get paid? I saw a songwriter, big one, who was like, I don't like it. People start talking about split sheets at the beginning of a session. It kills the buzz. And it's just, shut up. We'll deal with that later. We're all cool. And it's like, he didn't. And then somebody from one of the PROs was talking, and he was like, what? He had no idea that he was like missing out on all this money because he's also being all chill. And it's like, that's great. You want to be an artist and be chill? Great. Do you also want to continue to be an artist and make money? You got to do the paperwork. Okay. You don't have to do it at the beginning of a session, but when you're writing or recording something, make sure at the end you get all those split sheets, you get all the paperwork done, so you know who's getting what. Step 1. That was step 1. Step 2, you have to go register it. It doesn't just automatically happen. Don't assume somebody else is going to register it for you. They're not, unless you have an admin, somebody like Dawn or I working for you, where you give us the split sheets, give us the information, and we go do it for you. If you don't have somebody doing that, I mean, it can be your cousin if you want, but if you're not doing it, you need to get somebody to do it for you. That's step 1. So when that happens, you're assuming that happens when you write the song, before it gets on the radio, before it gets, a licensing deal to be in a movie. That doesn't, I'm learning more and more, it doesn't always happen. And these are big artists I'm talking about. These big artists are getting things placed in films, and the company's like, we're going to release the movie, and who's getting what now? And they still don't know, because it's not. So if you're doing that kind of not doing your paperwork and keeping up with it, and then you move to another PRO, when did you write the song? It's all going to depend. There's all these things that can say, like, well, you wrote that song in January, but then in June you switched from BMI to SESAC. Did you register that with BMI? Did you, you're all confused because you don't know. And those are the things that Dawn gets into the middle of in her life, where she has her regular job, because people can't remember what they did. They can't remember what they, so that's the first instance where, if you're not keeping up with your paperwork and then you move from one PRO to the other one, you should know what you've already registered there and keep it there if you want to. We'll get into that in a second. And then make sure everything else is up to date and registered with a new one. It's when you're not sure where things are registered, and other people, sometimes if you're doing co-writes and you got 5% of a song, somebody else is registering it for you, and they go, well, you were with BMI. You forgot to tell them you moved to SESAC. You got problems, because you may never get paid for that. It can get lost in the system. Sometimes you're going to get double paid, and sometimes you're not going to get paid at all. Right?
Yes.
So
this is a very good, Beth, I'm going to jump in here as to what you just said, because I have an account at ASCAP and BMI as a songwriter. I have a set of songs from my band Almost Ugly at ASCAP. I moved from ASCAP to BMI. I left those songs there because there were cue sheets involved with those. Not all of them, but some of them. And I left those songs at ASCAP because I had already had them on some TV shows and they were paying me.
And you weren't really pushing those songs anymore.
I wasn't pushing those songs anymore, but I probably will be in the next few months. I will put them in my catalog.
But at that point, it made more sense to leave them.
And it does. But here's what I need to know. And even I, who work in the business, have to think about this with my own catalog. My own songs and my own catalogs. Now I'm at BMI. I co-write sometimes with some people that are getting some placements on television. And so I have songs that are generating money at BMI and ASCAP now. Now, if I was to go to place a song or do something with someone, it would be very important for me to explain to that music supervisor or whoever, I actually have 2 accounts, ASCAP and BMI. And I have catalog in both places. And to tell them this song that we're pitching to you is with BMI, because I want to be sure that they get that correct.
Because they can also go look up, you can go look up songwriters and different songs at, see if it's at ASCAP, BMI, SESAC, you can go on their websites and you can look things up. So if somebody were to look up Dawn, say she's pitching a song that she's registered at BMI, and they get miscommunication or something, and they don't know which PRO she's with, and they go first to ASCAP to look it up, and they see Dawn Wisner Johnson. Oh, she's with ASCAP. I see her right here. She's songwriter.
And they could also see my co-writer there.
Right, and the co-writer for the same song. And they go, oh, she must not have registered it here. And I don't know if they would register it for you, but they might just assume you're going to register it later and put ASCAP for you, because you used to be an ASCAP songwriter.
Exactly.
So that's why you need to make sure, especially if you've been with one and you're with another, you are always communicating well where you are right now.
Right.
And have things registered correctly at the time before you get into the contracts and things.
Because imagine this, a music supervisor gets a catalog of mine. They see 3 songs, they see 6 songs, and 4 of them say ASCAP. 2 of them say BMI. They could even assume that's a mistake.
And people do that.
Right. They may not have even seen the other song, or they saw the ASCAP song. They went on to the BMI song and they said, oh, we like this one. So I saw she was with ASCAP. Let me go look her up. Here's her IPI. So I'm not saying this will always happen, but I'm giving you an example so that you understand why it's so important. And if I could talk to my songwriter I'm dealing with now, he has been with many, in fact, some all over the world.
It's all of them. It seems like
it's been hard. I'm on it because I am a publishing administrator. So I know that I have to track everything and make sure the song is actually that, but many people don't do that in our business. So that's why we bring that up. So I interrupted you, Beth. Were you still?
Right. So let's say you decide to move because, whatever. We moved a bunch of our songwriters from ASCAP to BMI. We had a tiff with ASCAP over some changes in their formula, which Dawn will go into a little bit later, and we were not happy about it. And we went through months and months of back and forth. And we happened to all be in a period, and I'm trying to understand, was everybody's time up, or did they, because we had like 6 different songwriters and they couldn't have all had because what happens is you sign up for ASCAP, and I think ASCAP's term is a year. And then you have a 3-month, I think it is, period when you can say, I would like to leave and move to, I'm going to go to BMI or SESAC or whichever. I
believe, yeah, go ahead, keep going.
I don't remember if all the songwriters are in this, but we had some backup from a network that was helping us. So I think they might have given us a little bit of leeway in that.
ASCAP gave us an out on a couple of those. One of those.
Yeah, those songwriters.
Early.
Right. I think that's true.
Early.
But we decided we wanted to move the songs because these were all songs that were in a network catalog library they were all being used a lot, and everybody's income had gone down by about 75%. Let's say that again. Their income had gone down by about 75%, and it was a shock to everyone's system.
Their income from their performing rights organization.
From their performances that were being played on television, and they knew what they were getting before, because a lot of these songs are used over and over, and then reruns, so they know what to expect. And when you open up your check or you get a notification and it's 25%, you're going to get a little bit concerned because you can't pay your rent. So we were so ticked off, we wanted to not only move all the songwriters over, we wanted to also move all of the songs over to BMI. Now, because these songs, this was a unique situation, I'm giving a lot of detail on this, but you might learn something in here. These songs were written for a library. So the library owned the publishing, and the songwriters still owned their songwriting. So the publishing follows the songwriter. So if you're with ASCAP, and Dawn's going to go into this later, she'll tell you how the publishing works. If you're your own publisher, or maybe if you're somebody else, you're working with somebody else like a library that's taking your publishing. The network was working with us very graciously. And so the publishing was going to move as well on these songs. So we wanted to take the songs. Everybody we talked to, including the network, said, you probably don't want to do that. Please don't move your stuff. It gets to be a mess. And you're going to lose some stuff. But we were so ticked off. We were like, we're not leaving our stuff here. So everybody, and they were in a window. Do you want me to talk about blanket licenses and stuff now, Donna?
Sure, yeah, go ahead now.
So because this was a network library, it was one of the big 4 networks. Network libraries and or networks and other PBS and well, maybe not PBS. They might get their music for free, huh? CNN,
No,
Fox News.
I actually know about PBS. I'll tell them later.
Okay. And I just can't think of any networks right now.
Right.
So TBS and whoever owns TBS, they're going Discovery Channel. They've got their own
FX. Yes.
FX. They're going to need music. So if they want to use, they're not going to know in advance exactly what music they want to use. They might have their own library, but they also might want to use the Beatles song on something, or Rolling Stones, or the new Ed Sheeran song. If they're doing a TV show, they might want to use that. Now, what they're going to get is a blanket license from the PRO. So they're going to go to each PRO they have a term. It's probably negotiated 3 years. I'm guessing would probably be about normal 2 to 3 years. Each network, so say CBS, is going to go to BMI and they are going to negotiate. And BMI is going to say, we want this much money. And CBS is going to, they're going to say, this is what our ad revenue is. This is what our income is. And they're going to negotiate a percentage per year, usually of the ad revenue, I think it is. They will need a license, a blanket license with every single PRO, because sometimes there's a song that has 3 different songwriters on it from 3 different PROs. So we moved the songs, and some of the songwriters actually lost some income because of that, because some of the cue sheets didn't follow. So ASCAP was still maybe getting, the credit for those songs, but they were not paying it out because those songs weren't there anymore. Now, I think in the long run, everybody did better by moving the songs as far as income goes. But there were some instances where there were some things that were lost. So normally, if you are moving your PRO, they are going to try tooth and nail to not get you to move your catalog. And my suggestion for the most part would be not to move it, unless there is a very specific reason, like we had, that this is getting used and it's, they sunk me with their new formula and I can't afford this.
Right.
Most of the time, you're going to want to leave your songs there.
Yes.
So you're kind of stuck with your PRO usually at some point for the rest of your life. So choose wisely, my friend.
You mentioned PBS, and I found that while I was doing research this week. They actually do have a deal from 2018 to 2022. Oh. They did a deal for PBS because they wanted people to get paid. So
because before that, were they not getting paid?
Well, that I don't know, but it did. What I saw said that the royalty board, the copyright royalty board, to cover the use of the PBS music, made them go into this deal. Are they nonprofit? I think they are.
PBS?
Yes.
Don't get me started on PBS.
Oh, don't get her started. Never.
If my kids were here, they would look at you and go, "Shut up."
Okay.
I have issues with people making money off of PBS. Yeah, they're nonprofit.
Well, obviously,
nobody's ever made money on a big purple dinosaur.
Obviously, they have money, because I'm going to tell you what I read.
Yes, they have money.
The copyright board said that they have to pay from 2018 to 2022. This is in effect. It's a 3-year license, it says, for the use of a song in a program. $118 for a feature performance. $59.
Doesn't matter on length?
No.
Okay. Go. I'm sorry.
It does. $35 per minute for a concert feature. So when you see a concert,
the LA Phil,
right? $59 per theme, which is these are very small, but it is money. $24 per theme, and the themes are single program. or
If
first.
you have a theme for one program that's airing one time, it's not the recurring shows.
Yes.
Okay.
And PBS and the Copyright Board accepted a confidential settlement agreement between ASCAP, BMI, and SESAC as to the royalty rate.
Okay.
paid.
I gotta. I'm sorry, but I gotta jump in here. So you have BMI and ASCAP, which are nonprofit organizations.
Yes.
You have PBS, which is Public Broadcasting System, which is taxpayer funded for, and they're nonprofit as well. And you have the CRM?
Copyright Royalty Board.
That is 3 judges from the federal government. And they have a confidentiality agreement.
Yes, they do.
Hello. If you ever wanted to know how to vote anybody else. That's all I'm ever going to say. Just vote anybody else. I don't care who it is. Anybody who's never been in office. That's my.
Okay. Well, anyway, this is how things go. This is how things go.
This was in 2018.
Yes.
Okay, but they did share some information.
Yeah, they gave us some. So.
Okay, which leads me to believe that PBS up till now wasn't paying anything.
Yes.
I bet they were trying to use a whole fair use. We're an educational television show, network. Okay, but that doesn't mean you get to not pay people. But okay.
So I think did we cover that, Beth, for blanket and the deals and stuff? I think
so. There's a lot of blanket licenses out there. It's not just PROs with a network. There are blanket licenses for a lot of different things, and there's a brand new one because of the MMA. We'll get into that another time. So when you hear blanket license, don't think it's just for PROs with networks and things. There are several blanket licenses, and there's compulsory blanket licenses as well. If you if you sign up with a PRO, you're basically, it's kind of a compulsory thing. The license, compulsory meaning you don't really have a choice in it.
Right.
Because that's one of the reasons I believe GMR, the newest PRO, which is an invite only, and it's some of the big boys.
Launched in 2013. They have 46,000 or more songs by now.
Because they're basically getting, it's when the Spotify things, I don't know if you remember with, what's her name that pulled 1989? What's her name? Went right on my head.
Oh, Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift pulled her music, right?
Yeah.
And then at one point, and she was trying to pull it from Spotify. And then at one point, Sony pulled all their music from ASCAP. Mm-hmm. They were like, if you're doing that blanket license with that, that digital, when digital started coming in, people started getting pissy because the numbers were so low. And these companies, these PROs, 2 of whom are nonprofit, were making deals that nobody was liking. So people started pulling their music, huge catalog. Sony that was like probably a third of the music at ASCAP. Mm-hmm. And so GMR, went off and pulled some of their stuff, and they've got their own going. And I think you're going to start seeing that kind of thing happen more and more, because these blanket licenses, they're just the way that things have to work in order for the business to continue to work. Mm-hmm. So I'm of 2 minds of it, because I want an artist to be able to negotiate on their own. But then that, you've got 500 plus television shows going right now, that are scripted TV shows going right now. That doesn't include radio, cafes, that you have to have some blanket licenses.
You do. And if you are an artist, it's going to work in your favor. If you are prolific, you can write songs, you can get things placed. We are in an age where content is all over the place. There's so much of it. Everybody's looking for music. And so if you have heard any of the music supervisors talking, you can talk to music supervisors for a year and still go back and have more. So the music supervision job is becoming, they need more and more of those, number one, in content as well as music. So what Beth was just saying is, you can spend a lot of time chasing your money, or you can go into a PRO write a bunch of songs, co-write with people, make a catalog, go start pitching your music somewhere, you know, and you'll make money that way, especially right now in our climate. And we've said this a lot as an independent musician. You may have to change your focus many times over the life of being a musician. Beth and I have been around for a while. I was in a band in the 80s, a techno band, Krumbacher. So I have been doing it for how many decades? And every decade things have changed.
Every artist, major or minor or just starting out, they're constantly having to change how they
Right.
make money and how they do things. So
Right.
it's the nature of the beast.
So right now we
But
have,
you have to be of the PRO. You
yes,
can't I mean, you can choose not to be, but you're not gonna ever collect
no,
any money.
yeah. So speaking of that, let's figure out how you decide and how you get to be with a PRO. You and many of you may already be with one, but I'm just going to tell you, look, if I were you, I would go on some blogs, go go listen to some composers, look at some comments, and see what those guys are saying about how these PROs pay. There's songwriter groups you can get involved in. There's lots of ways that you can figure out, hey, this might be the best fit for me, you know, whatever. So I'm not going to give you all of that right now. I'm just telling you that those are ways that you can do it. We may get into that another time. So you can only be a writer member, a current writer member of one PRO at a time in the United States. As I said earlier, I'm glad I told you that earlier. So you understand.
You can only have one US PRO.
Right. So the big ones that you can choose between are ASCAP and BMI. SESAC is by invitation only. If anybody wants me to explain that real quick, I'm going to. If you've had placements on television, even a few or one, and you are an artist pursuing something, SESAC is going to want to give you a look.
But also SESAC's focus is more on songwriters.
Yes.
Not on, when I say songwriters, I mean songwriters who write songs to get placed on other people's records, to have other people record them. That's kind of SESAC's focus. They're not as focused on television as the other PROs.
Right.
So keep that in mind.
So even though
they're becoming more so, but
right, you might think that you might get more personal attention there. Here's another way that BMI and ASCAP both have reps. I believe that they've ramped that up in the past few years, maybe the past decade, because it's easy to find somebody who will hold your hand and take you through things. BMI and ASCAP might not like me telling you that, but if you are someone who is pursuing something and you're doing it with everything you've got, those PROs are interested in talking to you. The VP might not be interested in you, but
they want to keep you around.
They do want to keep you around. You might be somebody who's going to keep going in the industry. And some of these guys, their whole job is to connect songwriters and, you know, get things going so that they can get more content coming in. And that's really the focus of what they do. So it's easy to find those guys. It's easy, you know, to be a bit persistent with them and let them know, hey, I'm serious about this. I've done my homework. I'm going to be getting placements. I've already got one, or, you know, I know people who have. So do your homework on figuring out which one you want to go with. Now I'm going to tell you, I'll tell you later which one I would probably tell you to go with at this point. So ASCAP is a nonprofit. It was launched in 1914. Right there, they say they have 700,000 members. There may be more than that, but to join as a writer, it's a $50 application fee. At least it was last time I looked. And to join as a publisher, it's a $50 application fee. I will go over publisher and writer in a minute. I'm going to tell you with BMI, they are also a nonprofit. They launched in 1939. They now say they have 800,000 members. They may have more members now than ASCAP. And Beth just told you a little story, which may lead you to believe as to why.
More. And yes. But consider ASCAP is the default.
It is the default.
Because they were first.
I know. So it seems like they would have more. But so with BMI, to become a writer, it is free. But if you want to sign up as a publisher with them, it's $150 for an individually self-published songwriter. If you are an LLC, it's $250 through BMI to set up your publishing.
So it's
SESAC,
free. It's free as a songwriter.
it is free as a songwriter.
But I thought BMI was one that if you didn't sign up
They
as
are.
a publisher. Oh,
They,
okay, you're not there yet. Okay.
I'm not
So
there yet. You
do
don't
it
have
for
to be,
free.
but I'll give you some recommendations on that. So
Okay.
SESAC is what we just discussed, for profit. I think recently I saw maybe 30 to 40,000 members. They launched in 1930. So all of these have been around for decades. SESAC, as Beth mentioned, a little bit more maybe artist friendly, but also songwriter. I know Nashville has a big thriving
Big in Nashville, right?
that community. They work with,
And SESAC is for profit.
yeah, they are.
BMI and ASCAP are for not for profit. Don't get me started.
She's gonna go. Okay. What I said earlier, you must be invited or accepted. It's not hard to get an invite if you're in the industry and you're working. If you're just starting out, you've only written an album and you haven't really done much with it, I wouldn't go to SESAC. And I don't even know if I'd go to SESAC at all, unless you know.
Unless you're going to specifically be a songwriter, just songwriter, and you're not focusing that much on placements, you're focusing on, because SESAC, one of the things that I know SESAC is really good at is, you know, they're pushing their songs, their songwriters' songs,
right,
trying to get them placed and things.
And I was going to say,
that way.
If Nashville is a place where you have a lot of friends or you want to aspire to live so that you can get into that world, I mean, you know, SESAC's there. They have a thriving community there. I know they do, as do the others, but I'm just pointing out that that's one of their specialties. So back to BMI and ASCAP, we told you about the songs. I believe that this is true. I haven't checked it lately, but I still believe that BMI is paying quite a bit more for songs that are placed on television. So I'm going to give you my suggestion is to go to BMI if you are starting out and you don't have a PRO yet. If you
and
think
we don't know really as much about digital radio, all that kind of thing, the differences in payment, right?
No, not yet. Not yet. We're going to be
seeing wants to share some of their information, please get in contact with us, because we're always looking for info.
Let me tell you that some of the places where I get information, I'm just going to give them a plug, is Todd, the twins, Brabec brothers. Yeah.
Twins or brothers?
Huh?
Are they twins?
I thought they were.
Oh.
Are they just brothers? I don't know. No. Anyway, their book has been around for decades, I believe, but it's updated, maybe yearly. And so it's a great resource to go to. They do put in a lot of formulas, and even they'll tell you kind of what people are paying for certain things. It's hard to follow this right now because everything's changing and all these new companies are coming in, and they're not always they don't always let you know what their formulas are.
Yeah, because you're talking about the book and then you're saying they. The book is, what's the name of the book?
The name of the book is Music, Money, and Success.
And the name of the authors?
Jeff and Todd Brabec.
I will put the link in there in the, I'm sorry, I stepped on you spelling their name. I will put the link in there for YouTube. What's the spelling, Dawn?
Brabec. Okay. These guys worked for ASCAP for many years. And when I say worked, my goodness, they've done a lot in the industry. So they just really know what they're doing. Now,
I read a really good review of this book by somebody who's been in the industry for decades. And he said, this is a great book. I recommend that you buy it if you've been in the industry for a while. And I kind of stopped and I started reading his, because it's not a book that you're not going to read a book on how to work in music. It's a resource book. So it will have a chapter on publishing, and it will have little breakout paragraphs on BMI, this type of license, that type of license, and they update it. I don't know how often they update it, every year or two probably. And so it's, if you already know a lot about the music industry, this is a touchstone for, like, we go to it constantly for, shoot, what was that? How did that work again? And you go back and you look it up and you get the very plain English, well explained you know, what this type of license is. There's other resources out there if you're newer to the music industry that you can start with.
That would be true.
And we will add a couple of those books in the.
I agree, Beth. This book, if you get it in the mail, why not just hold it up? I want to show you how big it is.
Yeah. It is a great resource, and it's not cheap. I think it's probably $40 or something like that, but it's definitely worth it. Not saying don't buy it if you're new to the industry, but don't make that your first book.
That's a good thing. Beth and I probably understand most of what they're talking about in there, but it might just so many terms and different things. But
and it's not going to walk you through exactly how the music industry works.
Very true. But because I use that, I wanted to give them a shout out.
It is a great book especially for people that do know the terms and things and haven't heard of that book. It's an awesome book. We hope you have gotten a lot of information from this podcast on PROs. We've done 2 of them, and we did that because it was such a big subject. We will readdress this and come back with hopefully somebody from ASCAP and BMI, maybe SESAC, to get a little more in depth. If you have any other questions, you can leave us a comment, or you can go to our website, amatterofmusic.com, and you can sign up there and send us a question. We'll try to get back to you, or we'll do a podcast on it. So please give us anything that, any specific questions that you have. And don't forget to like and subscribe, please. And we hope you have a good one.
Thank you.